Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. How are you guys doing today? Hey, this is Gregory Wiles coming live to you from Houston, Texas with this inspirational morning talk. Hey, for first time listeners, I'm on at 8:45 a.m. That's our time here in Houston, man. You can calculate which time zone you in. But it's a beautiful day here in winter. I'm back outside. For the last few weeks, it was indoors, but I'm back outside today. It's nice. We're upper 60s, going in hitting the 70s. That's the kind of thing in Houston here with the winters. I love the winters, man, but it does affect my sinuses. It's up and down. We can be in 70s today, and next 2 days we down in 30s and 40s, and we going back and forth. Even the trees are confused. Your trees start nice warm weather, they're putting out leaves, and next thing you know, the cold come and they got to shed all the leaves again. So we get fall a couple of times during the winter also with all those leaves. But yes, I can be quick today. Man. I just want a reminder today. I said we're going to look at a lot of little laws in the beginning of the year. I like to remind people about these little laws that we got to follow. That what's going to give us our breakthroughs. And good morning, Jillian. Good morning. How are you doing today? As you see, the Bible is a lot of laws, and we got to know these little laws. It's not like just the 10 commandments and all of the kind of stuff. It's a lot of these little laws we got to pay attention to. And I can focus on this little law today. It's very popular. A lot of people know it, but it's a reminder. And I know I just have to remind myself very often about this one here too. And it's Ephesians 6:12. Ephesians 6:12. If you're not careful, you will break this law over and over. Ephesians 6:12 says, "For we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies," right? This is NLT. Our problems are not against human beings. We're not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and evil authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in the dark world, and against evil spirits in heavenly places. So I can break this down here, right? Paul telling the Ephesians, guys, our fight as Christians, as human beings, our fight is not against people. People is not our problem. It's what is leading those people, what's influencing them. That's our problem. So here we break it down. He said, "For our fight is not against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers." Evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world. Evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world. So this is, the law first mentioned. Excuse me. The law first mentioned, he's saying this is the hierarchy of the demonic kingdom. He said this is what we're fighting against. Evil rulers, right? And authorities of the unseen world. Right? So these rulers, remember in Daniel, if you can remember the story, in Daniel, when the the angel come to give Daniel his message when he went on the 21 days fast, angel Gabriel, and he said he was held up by the prince of Persia. Right? The prince is a much more powerful than him that held him up, and he had to send for Archangel, and God sent Archangel Michael to help him. So that's what he's talking about here. The rulers. The kingdom is set up just like any government, anything. It got the president, it got the governors, it can come down to mayors and congress people and all of that. So that's what they're saying here. These rulers and authorities, those higher ranking demonic forces. Remember when God said when the Bible had the disciples couldn't take out the spirit out of the body, and the Father bring the body to Jesus, and Jesus said this kind can only come out with prayer and fasting. This kind, that's one of the higher ranking ones. So the regular prayer is not going to work. This kind could only come out. So it's what he's referring to is one of these rulers and these authorities of the unseen world. Then he come down. Then against mighty powers, this is the smaller powers now in the dark world, and against evil spirits, it's the regular little evil spirits who just doing the work for these rulers, right? It's like the regular workers now. You got the bosses, the bigger bosses, the CEO, then you got the directors, then you got managers, then you got supervisors, then you got the hourly workers. This is what he's saying, our fight is against, and this is all the hierarchy of the demonic kingdom, right? So he's saying, guys, Our fight is not against people. So let me break that down. So when you see people coming against you, people lying against you, people backstabbing you, people doing all kind of thing in the job to get promotion from you, trying to set you up, that's what Paul is saying. The human is not your problem. It's what influencing them is your problem. Jealousy. People just jealous of you for no reason. And it might be people close to you. Some people close to you. Family members, close friends. And they're jealous of you. Right? But Paul is saying, don't focus on the human. Focus on what is driving them. Right? Come against the jealous spirit, not the human. It's the jealous spirit. And once you do that, he's saying, that's when you're going to win the fight. Because you're going to fight the human all the time. And the human just push back. They're going to fight. And they continue doing the stuff, right? You got to come against what's leading them. Once you say they're lying, they're always telling lies on me. Come against the lying spirit that's influencing them. They're mean. They're controlling. That is what, and these spirits are so pronounced. Whenever you say what this person is doing or you describe this person mean, controlling, lying, cheating, stealing, that is what you're praying against, not the human being, right? Let's see how Jesus handled this. Let's see how Jesus demonstrated this to us. Let's look at Matthew 16:21 through 23. Matthew 16:21 through 23. From then on, Jesus was predicting his death, telling his disciples, but how he got to die and all of that, right? So from then on, Jesus began to tell his disciples plainly that it was necessary for him to go to Jerusalem and that he would suffer many terrible things at the hands of the elders, the elders, the leading priests, and the teachers of religious law. He would be killed, but on the third day, he would be raised from the dead. So Jesus saying, look, this is what I got to do. I got to die. You know what I mean? This is what I come for. I got to die now to save the world and, you know, for sin and all the good stuff that we know Jesus Christ died for us. All right. But here I 16, now we're going on to 22. Jesus telling them, I got to die. I got to suffer these people's hands. But Peter took him aside and began to reprimand him, or some translations say rebuke him. I'm reading NLT translation. He said, Peter took him aside and began to reprimand him for saying such things. Heaven forbid, Lord, he said, this will never happen to you. Peter, like, Jesus, what's wrong with you? Remember, just before this is when Jesus asked them, who do you guys say I am? And Peter said, you're the Son of the living God. And Jesus tell him, yeah, that could not be revealed to you by man. God had to tell you that. So he feel that, he a little powerful now, God revealing things to him. So he calling Jesus aside when Jesus said, you got to die and he can be suffered these hands. And he can reprimand Jesus or rebuke Jesus. Peter took Jesus aside and began to reprimand him for saying such things. Peter said, God forbid, Lord, he said, this will never happen to you. Like he got the power to stop that from happening. He reprimanding Jesus like Jesus don't know what he's talking about. Peter think Jesus don't know what he's talking about. Let me set you straight, Mr. Jesus. That ain't happening to you. Not under my watch. That ain't happening to you, right? But let's see how Jesus handled this. And this is what I'm going to bring out this Ephesians 6:12. Let's see how Jesus handled this. And that's what I'm telling you. And then I can rest my case. Jesus turned to Peter and said, here where Jesus turned to Peter, right? Peter's in front of him, reprimanding him, telling him this could never happen to him. This will never happen. Jesus turned to Peter and said, get from me, Satan. Jesus didn't say, Peter, look, get away from me and shut your mouth. He said, get, and some other translations like say, get behind me, Satan. Jesus did not rebuke Peter like how Peter was trying to rebuke him. Jesus rebuked what was leading Peter, the devil. Because the devil would love to stop Jesus' death from happening, because he know Jesus' death put a big dent in his kingdom. So he influenced Peter to try to stop this. So Jesus got this knowledge. He said, "Get from me, Satan. You are a dangerous trap to me. Get from me, Satan. You are a dangerous trap to me. You are seeing things merely from a human point of view, not from God's. This is God's plan." He said, "You are a dangerous trap." Who you was talking to? The devil, not Peter. So I'm trying to bring this spirit to him. It's Osmond Smith. Good morning. Good morning, sir. How are you doing? So I'm trying to remind people, man, you gotta be focused, because you will get carried away with this and start cursing out people and start saying, and that's all the enemy, because he's still hiding out. Because what's gonna happen now, he can use someone else. If you stop talking to the person, he can use someone else to carry the lies on you. Someone else in the job, the person get fired or whatever, gonna rise up and start to do the same thing. You never know, sometimes some people don't know you and they just know they don't like you. They don't know anything about you. See you for the first time and they just know they don't like you. And they ask them, "Why you don't like this person?" "I don't know. But let me reveal to you why." And some people need to hear this. You probably got a lot of enemies, a lot of haters right now. The enemy is hating you not for you. It's for the gifts that God gives you, and the things he know you are called to do. That's what he's fighting against. Our haters see in us things we don't even see in ourselves yet. Things we don't even know that we possess yet. You may have nothing. And somebody got a material possession, seems to be in a different, higher than you, material-wise and stature-wise. But yet still, they hate your guts. You're no threat to them, but they hate your guts, and they're making it the duty to fight you down. Excuse me. And you're like, "What you fighting me for? Oh, you think you this, you think you that." And you said, "I never said none of that." Why are you hating them? Because the enemy using them, because they see the gifts that you have in you, and they're going to use that to fight you. And we got to keep our eyes on the prize and stay focused. So when these people come fighting us down, telling lies, you come against what is leading them. The lying spirit, the mean spirit, the controlling spirit. That is what you fight against. That's what Paul is telling us. Do not focus on the human. You're going to always lose the fight, because the human is not your problem. As I always start this story whenever I'm talking about this this scripture. Remember, years ago, I was going to Vegas. My wife was going to Vegas to celebrate our anniversary. And there's a woman in the plane, like 2 rows behind us. Educated woman. She got her master's and degree. She's had a nice job and everything. She's talking to a friend who she didn't see. This guy that went to some training, like a couple of years before. They didn't see him in a while, and they was catching up and talking about all the people. But every 2 words was the effing and the effing and the effing and the effing. And she had this serious cursing, effing and effing and effing and effing, every 2 words, and loud. So the whole half of the plane could hear her pretty much. And it was so annoying, and I was getting so, you're trying to focus, you're trying to do stuff. It's the effing and the effing and the effing and the effing. And then, God brings us back, the Holy Spirit brings it back to me. He said, "Remember Ephesians 6:12. Remember, you're supposed to know better what you complaining about." And then I do say, okay, I go into prayer and I silence that cursing demon that she had in her. I mean, she talks her story, how it really come. Because they say all these things have to have an open door. She was in the military back in the 70s. At the time, the women was not so accepted in the military. So she had to be proving herself every day. According to what she said. So she had to be drinking with the guys and cursing with them. And like if she's hard and, she's one of them. And that opened the door, because it's not natural for her. For the men that come naturally, the drinking and the talking, and that's natural come for the men. But she had to put on this show and act like she's one of them. She opened the door for that cursing demon to come in. When she was talking her story, from my spiritual discernment, I picked that up. But anyhow, long story short, I silenced the demon for the rest of the flight. I silenced the curse, and I go into prayer. Say, "God, I bind his powers right now. I use the authority that you give me, your son died on the cross for. You said you give us authority to trample over all evil forces. And I use that authority right now to bind that cursing demon on this woman for the rest of this flight, so everyone else could enjoy the flight. And I going, you know what? We flight had, it was like a 2-hour flight from Houston to Vegas, somewhere around that. And I did that. The flight had about 30 minutes left in it when I catch myself and remember Ephesians 6:12, because I'm telling you, we'll get carried away and we'll forget this scripture and then we'll start fighting people. And when I did that, this woman was normal for the rest of the flight. She was normal. Didn't curse no more. She talked hard on the carrying conversation. But when we got to Vegas, I think the weather was a little bad there. So our bags took a little, about 30 minutes to get our bags. You know, this woman, it was a big carousel with the bags. I went way far, make sure I positioned myself far away from her. This woman find her way, slowly make her way over to us, me and my wife, where we were standing. And she formulate a conversation. How do you think, formulate some conversation where bags taking long, whatever the conversation was. I can't remember, just to engage with us. And then during the conversation, start cursing again, drop 2 more F-bombs, and then walk away. You know what was that, right? That was the enemy saying, you silenced me on the plane, but your prayers was to silence me for the rest of the flight. Well, guess what now? The flight is over, and I'm in control again. That's the message the enemy wants to send to me. The flight is over, and I'm in control again. Just let me show you that I'm in control. And drop 2 F-bombs and then make your way back and do your thing. So I just want to show you guys, we got the power. You remember when those 72 disciples come back and they were so in awe when they're telling Jesus, excited, Jesus, even the demons subject to us in your name. He said, yeah, I know. I see Satan fall from heaven like lightning, bro. It's bigger than that. And you got the power. Behold, you have the power to tread on this on the scorpions and the serpents and all. He tell you got the power. So we got the power. Don't get caught up in the fight against humans. Silence what's coming, what's influencing them. All right, guys? I can't remind you, I can't stress this enough. And this is one I just got to pay serious attention to, because your humanly instinct would want to lash out at that person. And that's what the enemy wants. You to lash out at the person. And remember, the bigger you give, the bigger your breakthroughs is, the more enemies is going to come after you. And just like in this case here, who the enemy used to come Jesus? Someone that was closest to him. So the people closest to you, that's why they say the people closest to you hurt you the most. Because that's what the enemy tend to use. Okay, those the people that can get direct access to you quicker and do the most damage to you and throw you off your God-given path. So don't take the setup. Don't buy the bait. Use the authority that you have and silence what is influencing them. And you're going to see a better difference. All right? Because as I always said this thing, how long Uncle Joe coming to the family reunion and cursing up and doing the same thing every year, or some particular uncle always coming and he can do the same thing in the family gathering every time. And you always say, this Uncle Joe, man. Uncle Joe always doing this foolishness. You really fight the fight what was fighting Uncle Joe. You're going to see a difference. Because every year you still fighting against Uncle Joe. Still cursing, still getting upset with Uncle Joe. Because he come to the family gathering and doing the same foolishness. He need a drink and get drunk and he curse people out. Or we silence what's influencing Uncle Joe. Or you're going to see a big difference. Instead of fighting Uncle Joe every year. All right. We can leave that there, guys. Have a great Monday. We'll talk again on Wednesday. Goodbye.